Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has never been one to waste his words, and when he says, "I pray all Americans stop eating these foods," the warning slices deeper than any headline. Think about it. Over 7 million pounds of deli meats recalled for listeria, nearly 20 million eggs pulled back for salmonella, shrimp shipments testing positive for cesium-137. These aren't rare accidents. They're the new reality of America's dinner table. How did our kitchens, once the safest corner of the home, become minefields where every bite might carry bacteria, toxins, or even radiation? And how many more families will have to watch loved ones land in hospital beds before regulators admit the system is crumbling? The fear is real, but you don't need to panic just yet, because in this video we're not only exposing the shocking truths hidden behind glossy supermarket packaging, but also pointing you towards safer, trustworthy alternatives that still exist. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And tonight, we're peeling back the labels to reveal why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is begging Americans to step away from these foods before it's too late. Number 1. Ground beef. Just a few short months ago, headlines blared warnings that landed like a thunderclap in every American kitchen. The USDA announced that ground beef sold under the name Organic Rancher at Whole Foods was tainted with E. coli 0157H7, while Wolverine Packing had already recalled more than 167,000 pounds of ground beef tied to 15 confirmed illnesses across Minnesota and restaurants nationwide. By August, the spiral continued. Ground beef shipped into 5 different states had to be recalled again, this time because sharp metal fragments were found embedded in patties. Officials reassured the public that no one had died yet, but even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stepped forward to hammer the point home, warning that this system is built to fail quietly until the bodies pile up. For seniors already counting every penny of their retirement checks, those words hit like a sucker punch. How do you stretch your budget when even the burger on your plate feels like it's waiting to stab you from the inside? And the deeper you dig, the uglier the picture becomes. Ground beef is not a simple cut of meat. It is a Frankenstein mashup, a slurry of scraps from dozens or even hundreds of cows. If just one diseased animal enters the chain, the contamination doesn't stay local. It sprays across thousands of pounds of beef that travel into homes and restaurants nationwide. It's almost comical in its absurdity. Amazon can tell you exactly where your $15 phone charger is at this very second, yet no one in Washington can tell you which cow wound up in your $4 burger. And tucked inside that burger may be lean, finely textured beef, better known by its tabloid nickname. Pink slime. Doused with ammonium hydroxide to hide the bacteria. Americans swallowed this sanitized scrap heap for years until the outrage became too loud to ignore. It's like buying fresh squeezed orange juice and realizing you've been served tang stirred with a toilet brush. But the problem does not end with the meat itself. Behind the glossy supermarket packaging are slaughterhouses where assembly lines move so fast that workers lose fingers, hands, and sometimes their lives. OSHA data show beef plant workers suffer catastrophic injuries at more than double the national average. Most are immigrants working shoulder to shoulder in icy air, ankle deep in blood, racing blades for poverty wages, often with no union protection. Retirees who remember marching for labor rights in their youth are now unknowingly buying into the very cycle of exploitation they once fought against, funding the same factories that chew up human lives just as efficiently as they grind carcasses. Then there's the toxic footprint of the industrial feedlots, or CAFOS, that fatten these cattle. Entire rural landscapes are drowned in manure runoff. Methane hangs over communities like a suffocating blanket, and families living nearby have reported nosebleeds, chronic asthma, and even clusters of cancer. For older Americans who dreamed of escaping city smog to breathe country air, their golden years are now spoiled by the stench of corporate beef. And even if the smell doesn't choke you, the meat itself might. Consumer Reports discovered that nearly 1 in 5 ground beef samples contained antibiotic-resistant bacteria, superbugs that could turn common infections into untreatable nightmares. For aging immune systems already stretched thin, that's not dinner, that's a loaded gun. And let us not forget the betrayal hidden under labels. Beef imported from countries like Brazil, caught shipping chemically treated salmonella-laced meat, can legally wear a product of USA stamp simply because it was processed stateside. Wrap foreign mystery meat in an American flag and watch shoppers grab it with pride. Even labels promising grass-fed. antibiotic-free or Papaikan or Angus don't always hold up. Watchdog groups have found antibiotic residues in around 20% of supposedly clean beef. It's the used car salesman trick. Polish the lemon, slap on a price tag, and grin while the engine sputters. So when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pleads with Americans to stop eating these foods, it's not theatrics. It's survival. Every burger is a spin of Russian roulette. Maybe harmless, maybe kidney failure. And for older Americans trying to make every dollar count, it's no longer a meal, it's a gamble you can't afford. The only sane path forward is to reach for safer alternatives. Brands like Neiman Ranch, Applegate Naturals, Grass Run Farms, and 365 by Whole Foods Market are more reliable choices. And local butchers often remain the last guardians of real meat, not chemical-laced profit. Fodder. The message is simple. That $4 burger could end up costing more than you'll ever be able to pay. Number 2. Baby food. In May of this year, a chilling alarm rang out from the nursery aisle when Publix recalled its GreenWise baby food pouches after officials in North Carolina detected lead at 13.4 parts per billion, well above the federal threshold of 10. Those pouches had already been sold in over 1,400 stores across 8 states. Fed directly to infants as if parents were handing them poison, disguised as puree. By August, the nightmare deepened. The Texas Attorney General launched an investigation into Gerber and Plum Organics for selling foods tainted with arsenic, cadmium, mercury, and lead, metals long linked to developmental delays and lowered IQ. And the gavel fell harder when a federal judge in California ruled that Walmart, Beechnut, Gerber, Earth's Best, Happy Baby, Plum Organics, and Sprout must stand trial in a sweeping lawsuit alleging more than 600 baby food products carried toxic metals. For older Americans reading this over their kitchen tables, it felt less like a recall and more like watching the foundations of trust crumble under their feet. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has warned that when corporations race ahead of regulation, children become the first sacrifices. The betrayal is almost unthinkable. Congressional investigations uncovered internal memos revealing metal concentrations hundreds of times greater than what is permitted in drinking water. Beechnut's rice cereal contained over 900 parts per billion of arsenic, an amount scientists connect to cancer risk and lowered IQ. Yet these very products were wrapped in pastel labels with cheerful slogans, selling poison under the mask of purity. For retirees who once thought baby food was the last untouched sanctuary in the supermarket, the truth hits like a slap. It's dirtier than their own tap water. It's the equivalent of paying for mountain spring water and finding it siphoned from a rusted gutter. Worse, this contamination was not a tragic accident. It was corporate strategy. Internal emails revealed executives knew for years yet kept shipping jars, treating infant brain development as chips on a poker table. After damning reports reached the public, most companies didn't reform. They rebranded. Labels changed, supply chains did not. The baby food aisle did not clean itself. It just put on a fresh coat of paint. For older Americans who once clocked honest shifts in factories, realizing even babies are reduced to profit units is like discovering the American dream comes in a jar of puree and tastes like betrayal. Behind the glossy jars hides another scandal: exploitation. The rice, bananas, and mangoes in these products often come from overseas farms where workers earn pennies a day. Drenched in pesticides outlawed in the US investigations even documented children peeling fruit until their hands bled. For seniors who remember marching for fair wages, it is sickening to know that one child's first spoonful may come from another child's blistered fingers. Even the watchdogs charged with protection appear asleep. The FDA has known about these dangers for decades but still imposes no strict limits, only guidelines. Meanwhile, lobbyists for Gerber and Nestlé funnel millions into political campaigns, and lawmakers pose for cameras while toxins keep flowing into nurseries. Older Americans who remember surprise inspections in factories now see an agency more like a maitre d' than a guard dog, smiling at the door while poison slips past, and don't think organic offers safety. Happy Baby Organics, Earth's Best, and Plum Organics are all named in lawsuits. Consumer Reports testing showed more than 2/3 of organic baby food contained measurable heavy metals. Organic has become a hollow word, like sticking a smiley face on a leaking gas can and calling it safe for toddlers. What makes it all crueler is who suffers most. These companies push budget multi-packs through WIC subsidies, funneling their most contaminated products straight to the poorest families, often grandparents scraping by on $1,200 a month while raising grandchildren. If those babies later struggle with seizures, learning delays, or lifelong health costs, entire households collapse under the weight. For older Americans already stretched to the breaking point, this is not just greed. It is a financial landmine planted directly in the cradle. Baby food was supposed to be sacred, the first nourishment of life. Instead, it has become the first betrayal. That cute jar of sweet potato puree is no longer a symbol of love. It's a Trojan horse rolling into the nursery, grinning while it poisons the future. The only lifeline left is to turn towards safer options like Serenity Kids, Once Upon a Farm, Cerebelly, or Little Spoon, or to buy from trusted local co-ops that still treat safety as sacred. Because when even baby food becomes toxic, the choice isn't about flavor anymore, it's about survival. Number 3. Deli meats. Late this summer, a thunderclap of headlines shattered whatever trust Americans still had in their grocery aisles. More than 7 million pounds of Boar's Head deli meats were ripped off shelves after a nationwide listeria outbreak tore through 19 states. 61 people fell ill, 60 were hospitalized, and 10 died. For retirees clinging to Social Security checks, this wasn't just another recall. It was a sucker punch from a brand they thought was safe. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has warned repeatedly that disasters like this are not random accidents, but the inevitable result of letting food giants regulate themselves. Suddenly, the Cadillac of cold cuts looked less like a luxury and more like a funeral car with a shiny bow. When USDA inspectors descended on Boar's Head's plant in Jarrett, Virginia, they didn't find spotless stainless steel. They found mold crawling across the walls like dark ivy, insects, alive and dead, nesting near machines, damp air thick enough to fog glasses, and floors slick with pooled blood. Old meat residue clung to equipment like plaque on rotten teeth. This wasn't a sanitized kitchen. It was the kind of grotesque set you'd expect from a horror flick. And yet, from those same contaminated halls rolled out the ham, turkey, and liverwurst that ended up in millions of sandwiches. The USDA eventually shut the facility down for good, and Boar's Head quietly killed off its liverwurst line, but not before the damage was done. Coast-to-coast recalls cracked the company's golden reputation like a porcelain plate dropped on tile. Then came the lawsuits, stacked up like overdue bills. Families who lost loved ones accused Boar's Head of ignoring sanitation warnings for years. Reports surfaced that management had been notified of mold, mildew, and even insect problems long before the outbreak, but chose profit over prevention. Whispers grew louder that federal inspectors had buried earlier violations to shield a company famous for pouring millions into lobbying. For working-class Americans, the smell wasn't just rotten meat, it was complicity. It sent one brutal message. If enough money is at stake, your life can be negotiated away. And even if bacteria didn't reach you, the additives might. Boar's Head has lobbied hard to block labeling laws that would reveal just how saturated its meats are with sodium and nitrates. Chemicals doctors connect to heart disease and colorectal cancer. Studies show that as little as 2 ounces a day can raise cancer risk nearly 20%. Meanwhile, environmental groups have accused Boar's Head suppliers of dumping nitrates into Florida waterways, leaving retirees with sulfur-tainted tap water and skin rashes. Paying a premium for quality meat while the same brand pollutes your backyard, well, feels like a sick joke. Still, Boar's Head hides behind patriotic slogans of tradition and family values, even as leaked tax records expose millions pocketed in subsidies, while line workers earn wages that barely cover rent. For a generation that once believed hard work guaranteed stability, this is déjà vu from shuttered factories and stolen pensions. Boar's Head isn't selling nourishment anymore. It's selling nostalgia wrapped around bacteria, chemicals, and corporate rot. For those who want real safety, the answer is not at the glossy deli counter. Look instead to brands with better transparency like Applegate Naturals, Dietz & Watson, Hillshire Farm, and Oscar Mayer. Or better yet, buy from local butcher shops where you can look the butcher in the eye. Because right now, opening a pack of Boar's Head doesn't feel like making lunch. It feels like gambling your health in a casino rigged to make you lose. Number 4. Eggs. In late August, the nightmare broke open. The FDA confirmed that almost 100 people across 14 states had fallen ill, with 18 hospitalized after salmonella enteritis was traced to cartons of sunshine yolks and omega-3 golden yolk eggs from Country Eggs, LLC in California. Each recalled carton bore the code CA7695, slipping silently into kitchens from Nevada to Florida. Only weeks earlier, August Egg Company had pulled over 20 million eggs after 79 illnesses and 61 hospitalizations. Federal alerts demanded Americans check their refrigerators and throw out anything stamped CA7695, P6562, or CA5330, because what looked like a harmless breakfast could end with a ventilator. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. warned that this is what happens when regulators turn their backs while megafarms convert food into assembly line commodities. The marketing promises of cage-free barns collapse under inspection. Investigators reported suffocating warehouses where tens of thousands of hens were jammed wing to wing in ankle-deep filth, eyes burning from ammonia fumes. Workers needed respirators while the cartons outside boasted farm fresh. Birds had their beaks seared with hot blades to keep them from pecking each other to death under stress. For older Americans spending their fixed incomes, this is the grotesque reality behind the sunny labels. A feathered apocalypse packaged as breakfast, and behind the curtains, audits revealed distributors faking sanitation logs and skipping salmonella tests altogether, forging signatures on documents that were supposed to protect families. What's sold as safety is little more than a paper mask stretched over a biological minefield. The danger goes deeper into the feed itself. Arsenic-based growth drugs and routine antibiotics are laced into the diets of these hens, fueling superbugs that Consumer Reports detected on 14% of retail eggs. Heat from a skillet does not guarantee survival. Bacteria can slip through. For retirees whose immune defenses are already weakened, a $2 carton can easily spiral into a 5-figure hospital bill. And the environmental fallout doesn't stop at the barn doors. Waste lagoons leak nitrates into rural aquifers, leaving retirees in small towns across Iowa and North Carolina pouring brown, sulfur-stinking water from their taps. Eggs were once the symbol of life itself. Now they've become hollow shells concealing sickness, cruelty, and fraud. Each sizzle in the frying pan sounds less like a wholesome morning and more like a warning hiss, as though the eggs are screaming under the oil. Number 5. Milk. Milk was once the sacred pillar of the American kitchen, poured into morning cereal, frothed into casseroles, sipped before bed like liquid trust. For older generations, it was more than nourishment. It was tradition in a glass. But Horizon Organic, long celebrated as the crown jewel of pure dairy, shattered that faith. In late 2024, nearly 20,000 cases of its shelf-stable whole milk were yanked from stores across Arizona, California, and Nevada after FDA testing linked them to premature spoilage. Officials pinned the blame on heat damage during processing, yet gave no clear explanation of how supposedly airtight aseptic cartons could rot months before their March 2025 dates. No illnesses were reported, but for seniors with fragile immune systems, sour milk isn't just unpleasant. It's nausea, dehydration, even hospitalization waiting in a glass. If the most expensive organic milk can quietly curdle on the shelf, what confidence is left in the rest of the industry? Because behind the sunny cow pastures on Horizon's packaging lies a darker truth. Watchdogs like PETA have filmed cows limping on swollen joints, untreated for infections, calves dragged from mothers within hours so the production line never stops. Horizon boasts of family farms, yet much of its supply comes from industrial mega dairies where tens of thousands of animals live jammed together in manure-soaked pens. For older Americans who once pictured a milk carton as a doorway to a sunlit barn, learning it's built on chains and concrete feels like opening a hymnal and finding counterfeit bills between the pages. And the rot doesn't end with Horizon. Across the dairy aisle, recalls have tied milk to salmonella, E. coli, and even bird flu outbreaks. Seniors, already weakened by age, are often the first to land in intensive care with kidney failure after drinking contaminated batches. A single cracked gasket in a post-pasteurization pipe can transform an entire production run into a bacterial trap. Beyond contamination, science is shifting the ground under milk's pedestal. Studies link heavy milk consumption in seniors to increased fracture rates, while each glass piles on saturated fat that chokes the heart. The very white shield once sold as health may be corroding the bodies it promised to protect. For retirees still reaching for the carton out of habit, milk is no longer purity. It's a white lie, chilled and waiting in the fridge. The safer choice lies elsewhere. Alternatives like Califia Farms, Silk, Oatly, Ripple, or Elmhurst provide dairy-free options without the bacterial roulette. Local dairies with transparent practices may still earn trust, but the glossy corporate cartons have shown their cracks. Because in today's America, even a glass of milk can taste less like comfort and more like betrayal poured cold. Number 6. Cheese. In early September, the news cracked like thunder over the deli counter. More than 5,000 pounds of Middlefield Original Cheese Co-op products were recalled across Ohio, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Texas after FDA testing uncovered Listeria monocytogenes in Gouda, Swiss, Pepper Jack, and even their novelty Dilly Pickle Jack. These weren't dusty leftovers hidden in some forgotten fridge. They were fresh cheeses with sell-by dates stretching well into next year, already stacked in coolers and sliced onto platters. The same facility had been flagged only weeks earlier for Listeria in its grass-fed Pepper Jack, yet the wheels kept turning. No illnesses have been confirmed so far, but for seniors, Listeria is a silent predator that can cause meningitis, bloodstream infections, or sudden death. A cheerful cube on a party tray can become the trigger for sepsis in a hospital bed, and Middlefield's stumble is just one shard of a much larger mirror. Investigators describe cutting rooms so humid that condensation dripped from ceilings onto conveyor belts, slicers firing shards of cheese at dizzying speed while undertrained workers scrambled to meet quotas. Sanitation shifts were skipped entirely so more bags could be pumped out before deadlines, leaving bacteria to nest in hidden cracks of machinery. Retirees who once worked on factory floors recognize that rhythm, the frantic push for output that trades safety for speed. Only now it's not bolts or widgets at risk, but the cheese melted into their grandchildren's sandwiches. Even when pathogens aren't found, the deception persists. Lab tests have caught shredded cheese bulked up with cellulose, literally wood pulp, while labels still boast 100% natural cheese. It's like paying for solid gold and receiving glitter glued to tin foil. The betrayal runs deeper than manufacturing shortcuts. Behind the glossy packaging, cows are confined on endless concrete pads, calves torn from mothers within hours so milk can be rerouted into cheddar production. Male calves are often slaughtered or chained for veal, their cries echoing through barns that never see daylight. Workers slog through 12-hour shifts in brine vats while corporate labels splash images of red barns under blue skies. For older Americans living on fixed incomes, this discovery is salt rubbed into an old wound. The comfort food they grew up trusting is stitched together with contamination, filler, and cruelty. That golden layer melting over bread isn't comfort anymore. It's grief masquerading as nourishment, a reminder that even cheese, once America's warm embrace, has curdled into betrayal. Number 7. Shrimp. Not long ago, the FDA dropped a warning that rattled every freezer aisle. Shrimp imported from Indonesia, sold under names like Great Value, Kroger, Sandbar, and Arctic Shores, tested positive for cesium-137, a radioactive isotope better known from nuclear fallout than a seafood platter. One shipment from PT Bahari Makmur Sejati clocked in at 68 becquerels per kilogram. Regulators insisted it was under the threshold of 1,200, but said nothing about what happens when seniors eat shrimp twice a week, letting radiation quietly accumulate. By late August, Walmart yanked shrimp from 13 states, and Aquastar recalled Kroger's cocktail shrimp nationwide. No deaths yet, but the phrase radioactive seafood now hangs over every cocktail ring like a neon hazard sign. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. warned that this is the price of outsourcing America's dinner to the lowest bidder, leaving retirees to risk their health for a discount. And radiation is only the appetizer. Shipments have been caught laced with banned antibiotics, chloramphenicol, nitrofurans, oxytetracycline, drugs meant to keep disease from sweeping through filthy ponds. In 2025 alone, the FDA blocked 60 shipments for drug residues. Instead of discarding them, companies bleached the bodies with sodium bisulfite to restore that pink glow, then rebrand them as Wild Gulf style. A Consumer Reports probe found more than 60% of shrimp mislabeled by origin. What looks like Gulf bounty is often pond scum from polluted ditches overseas. It's filet mignon on the label, but dog kibble in the bag. The human toll is even darker. Investigations revealed trafficked men held captive on Thai and Malaysian boats. Beaten, starved, forced to haul nets 20 hours a day. those same shrimp slipped into U.S. supply chains through middlemen like BMS Foods. For retirees who once stood on picket lines for fair wages, finding out their luxury treat was peeled by enslaved hands feels like betrayal carved in ice. Even here at home, processors thaw dirty shrimp in fetid water and refreeze them, pathogens like Vibrio and Salmonella riding along. For older Americans, one bad shrimp can mean sepsis, kidney failure, even death. And with the FDA testing only a fraction of imports, most contaminated batches vanish into stomachs before recalls trickle out. Behind it all lies an environmental catastrophe. Mangroves leveled, coasts poisoned, villages drowned under shrimp farm runoff. Yet the packaging beams with lies. Sustainably sourced, eco-friendly, stamped on bags that hide fraud and filth. For retirees who saved shrimp for holidays and anniversaries, realizing it's built on radiation, slavery, and fake labels is like biting into a pearl and finding a rusted nail. That delicate pink curl isn't luxury anymore, it's regret on ice. When even food betrays trust, truth is our only shield. Subscribe now and stand with us before the next bite falls.
Thanks a lot for sticking with us to the very end. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any daily uploads. And now, go ahead and explore some of our top recommended videos popping up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.